Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin Mommy, and I'm here for a stitch along. Hopefully it works this time. Third time's a charm, right? I'm here to work on Villa Mirabilia, and this chart was purchased from an LNS 14 years ago. This little sticker says Solvang, California, which means Thumbelina is the name of the shop. And we went there on our second wedding anniversary vacation, and this year we're planning to go back, and it will be 16 years. So this was bought 14 years ago, and it's not done, but she's pretty. So I'll be working on her today. I love her dress. It's so colorful. When I showed this in my update video, I had a strand of this white on my needle still, so I worked that in these little blocks here. But where I'm really wanting to focus this time is on this bush up here, because I want to get the top finished, and then I can feel like I can work down a little bit better without messing up her. And then maybe when I finish the banner or the border on the top and most of this bush, then I'll come in here and work her hair decorations, which will be pretty. But that won't happen for a while. That won't be this rotation in April. But so what I did up here after I did this strand in her dress is I finished this dark bit and then picked this color and kind of worked all the way around the edge of the bush to try to safely make my way to the top of the bush, because I didn't want to just kind of count and risk being wrong, because it's kind of a little scary on linen sometimes. And then I started in on the border too, and I think the next thing I really want to do is work the big arch, but I didn't want to do that on camera with you because I was afraid I would miscount since I'm talking. So I'm instead going to choose the next green in the bush and kind of work my way back down with the greenery. So that's what I'm going to do today for however long my camera will film, usually about 27 minutes, I think. So I'm rolling my fabric back up because that's how I like to do things. Every project I do, unless it's itty bitty, and then I don't even need to roll it because my hand can reach around the edge of it without rolling, I roll up every project, no matter what the material. So this, as you can see, is really floppy linen. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we get going here, that I can stitch in hand even on floppy linen. And this is a blended thread that I put together in the first version of the stitch along that I had to scrap. So it's 2 strands of green, and I have to run it under some threads because it's not, I can't do the loop start with a blended color. And there's not too many blended threads in here. I was actually kind of surprised to see this one was blended. But there are a few. So I have my pattern off to the side. Today it's usually just directly under me on my lap. But trying to be good about not showing the chart. And something I've noticed, I am doing, something I should say first. This is 32 count linen, probably willow green Belfast, which is what the chart calls for. And I bought it that same day at the LNS in Solvang. And this is currently an out of print chart, so it is hard to find. There's always a hope that it will someday be re-released, but I have not heard anything about this chart, so I cannot say one way or the other on that. Yeah, so this linen is really soft, which can be nice. And I don't mind that. I do sometimes prefer a little bit stiffer fabric because then I don't have to mind my tension quite as much. But I have noticed, and I don't think I ever really considered it before floss tube, but I have noticed that I think compared to other stitchers, my tension is really light, really loose tension. And that's how I'm able to get away with stitching in hand. And it's probably something that has, you know, evolved over the years because of stitching in hand and wanting my stitches to continue to look nice. That if you pull too tight, it's going to be all puckery and weird. So you have to generally keep a loose tension when you're stitching in hand, and be mindful of the threads you carry on the back, not to have them be too tight. So there's just things like that to think about, especially on a floppy fabric. The other thing is, a lot of people who stitch in hand stitch with the sewing method and have commented how it would save me a lot of time, a lot of effort. But I have tried it in the past and I don't really like it. I think it makes my stitches messy. And I think it's because of the way you have to kind of distort the fabric a little bit to make it work. Because the sewing method, for example, if my next stitch was right here, which it is not, you would go down where the stitch is gonna, this stitch is gonna end, and come up where your next stitch is gonna start. So you would kind of bend the fabric and come up without having to go underneath like I do. Which I could, there's a benefit to that, and I know a lot of people like to do that. I just have found, for me, I don't like doing it that way and thinking about it that way and bending the fabric. And I think part of it might be because I do sometimes choose small counts of fabric, and it makes it harder to stitch that way with small counts. Although I think Hap Addict on Instagram, and she had a few floss tube videos as well. She is the one that does enormous full coverage movie posters that she charts herself, and I believe she does the sewing method with those posters, and she does 32 count 1/1, so it can be done. She has discovered a good way to do that, and her projects look amazing. So for me, the poke and pull method keeps my fabric smooth, and it's just the way I've been stitching for a very long time, and it's how I like it. So that's that. Trying to think if there's, because I talked about the tension. It seems like I could see how it would be really easy to develop a tight tension if your fabric is always kept taut, because there's really nothing stopping you from pulling tight, and I think it would look nice that way. But I think maybe just because I have been stitching in hand for so long that my tension has, I don't know if it ever was tight, but it's become consistently light, and so then I'm able to stitch on a variety of fabrics without too much trouble. And I know it's not for everybody, but that's the way I like to do it. And if I know, like, a few people have tried some of the stitching methods that I do, which is kind of flattering, that people have seen me stitch and like, hey, I want to try it that way too. And then some people like it, some people don't, and you know, that's okay. Some people like it for certain projects and not for others. So that's kind of what's fun about floss tube, is there's always, you know, new things to learn or observe, and try them if you want. And you might find a new method that you like, and you might try it and be like, no, I like it the way I've been doing it, you know. And really any of it's fine as long as you're having fun. So, and I think my stitches look nice. I know there's been people who have been pointed in saying you should not stitch in hand, because then your stitches won't look very good and you'll have too many oils on your fabric. And while that may be, and I have seen some of my older projects discolor because of hand oils that I didn't wash out, Um, I don't think it's, you know, a hard and fast rule that you have to do things a certain way. It's a hobby, it's for fun, so don't let anybody tell you otherwise, I guess. I'm hoping to do some more like tutorial type videos as well instead of these stitch alongs. I'll still do some, but in between my update videos I want to try to do some tutorials as well, and or demonstrations. I don't know, it depends on what it is, but where am I? I think the next one I want to try to do is like a plan with me type video, because I've heard had a request for that a few different ways from a few different people of explaining how I plan and organize my things, and I'm kind of an interesting combination of organized chaos, because I like to organize on paper, don't always follow through. My storage system in my craft room is not like pristine and amazing, so it's just kind of in boxes and, you know, whatever. So it's not like anything super special, but like literally my main box for my cross stitch projects is an old cardboard paper box, because one of the huge boxes that comes with like 10 reams of paper or something, because they're really thick cardboard boxes, so it's stood the test of time, and that's what most of my projects are in. I have a few more in tote bags, and a lot of my rolls I like jury-rigged a cardboard. I think I showed it on my video towards the really beginning of my floss tube life. A cardboard like tube holder. I'll show that I made with like an Amazon box and a cereal box or something, and I just taped it all together to be exactly to my specifications. And so it's just a bunch of, you know, whatever works kind of thing. So nothing too special, but then I'll go into my like spreadsheets and things and kind of share what I did, and I'm not as involved as some other people are, so maybe that will appeal to somebody who's not willing to put as much effort into their planning and record keeping as others. So it's kind of a mild version of planning. I don't keep track of my stitches. I've never really enjoyed the extra time it would take to do that. But I do keep track. I finally, now that I've had floss tube motivation, I do keep track of my projects, and sort of. Sometimes I forget, and then I'll go back and be like, oh yeah, I finished that a while ago. When did I finish that? And I'll go in, look through Instagram, find out when I finished it, and update my spreadsheet. So I'm not like always in my spreadsheet making sure it's accurate. And I'm too much of a cheapskate to spend money on the cross stitch app, which sounds kind of cool, but I don't like to spend money on apps if I can help it. And just occasionally I will, but so that's coming down the pike. If I don't have time to do that, let's see, in 2 weeks, I think it will be April 30th, which is right before Stitch Mania. And I'm trying to think if there's something. I think I might need to volunteer in my son's class again on the 30th. So I might have time to do a little video, but we shall see. That's kind of my hope. And then that kind of would be a nice time right before Stitch Mania, when everybody's planning anyways, just to say this is what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I already have my starts planned for Stitch Mania, which I will share next. No. Yeah, I guess I'll share them next time, I guess. In my next update video, you'll get to see them, but I'm planning to do Stargazer by Mirabilia, which is probably my most anticipated start of 2018, on my fabric that I dyed myself. That's really dark blue. And then I will start, I don't know what order I'll start all of these in. I think Stargazer will be first, and then Anne of Green Gables, my cropped version of the quick stitch pattern. I'm going to be stitching that on silk gauze, so the final product will be like 3 inches square. So 40 count half stitches on silk gauze. And then I will start my touchdown piece, which is a football one that I'm going to do for my older son. I started my dragon piece for my younger son during the Olympics challenge, and so now I'll start the one for my older son. And I do have a new piece of that same light blue Monaco that I got at Hobby Lobby, so I have that. However, I actually have been considering if I want to do his football piece on the dove gray Monaco that I got that yard of recently. Oops. So I might do a floss toss and maybe ask his opinion which he likes better, the light blue or the gray, before I start that. And then I'm going to start, let's see, make sure where I am. Then I'm going to start Mini Princess of the Sea, which is a newer Heaven and Earth Designs. I fell in love with it when I first saw it because it reminded me of my little girl. Looks kind of like her, and she likes mermaids and sea creatures and different things, so it just was perfect. So don't think I want to finish that stitch yet. So I kind of held off at first because I didn't really want to do a full size Heaven and Earth Designs, any more full size ones really, and I thought that design could look okay as a mini, so I waited and waited and waited and waited, and finally, like a couple months ago, it came up coincidentally during a 50% off sale. I think that was maybe in December, actually. I noticed that they had a mini had been made, so of course I plunked down my money and got the mini, and I will be starting that on the Dove Gray Monaco because I thought that would be a nice background for all the sea colors that would be in it. That will be 2 over 1/2 stitch probably on the 28 count. So, and those will be my 4 starts. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'll do 4 days on each new start at the beginning of the month, which will bring us to the 16th. And then the 17th and the 18th, I will work on my Storytime sampler to make sure I get enough of a chunk done on that one. Let me see where I'm at for a second. Having this sideways next to me is a little bit, where'd my needle go? It's a little bit different for me, so it's, am I doing this right? Let's see. I think I messed up somewhere. Let's see. That's correct. Then this one. Then these guys down here. Okay, yeah, so after my first 4 starts for Stitch Mania, I'm going to work a couple days at least on my Storytime sampler. It'll be Charlotte's Web for May, which will be fun. And then there was a thing in Soulful Stitching that was announced that should have some themes, daily themes, like the Olympics challenge for working on your whips at the end of a whirlwind of whips or something like that at the end of May, starting on the 19th, to accommodate people who are doing 18 starts in the first 18 days. So I thought that would be fun. I kind of liked doing that in February, so I might do that, and I'll stick with, like, I need to finish the chunk on Storytime Sampler, and I need to finish a good chunk of days on, not finish, but I need to put in several days on Furry Animals Freebie, because those are my 2 other planned activities for May. So those 2 will definitely get some love in the midst of the whirlwind of whips. And I may also put in an extra day on each of my new starts during that time too, so that they can each have 5 days also. So if they have a theme that just doesn't work with any of my May pieces, just like in February, I might pull out something else to do then as well. So it'll just be probably, it could potentially be the same, 6 whips with 5 days each whip, and one whip has 6 days because it's got 31 days in May. But it could very well end up being a little bit more complicated. But at the very least, it'll be like not a strict rotation. It'll be here and there, bouncing back and forth between things based on the themes and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. And Melanie has not revealed the, what do you call it? The themes. It sounds like the themes won't come out until May, which is really sad for somebody like me who likes to plan ahead. So I'll have to wait and be patient. And I won't be able to plan those days until later, so we'll see. And maybe someone will talk her into releasing those early, but she may not know them yet. I don't know if she's planned them out yet. So we'll see on that. That's kind of my plan, though. And then I think in June is the FIFA challenge in Stitch Mania, where there's a daily challenge during the World Cup, which I am also planning to do. And then I have a new start planned for July with the Lady of the Flag. And then probably 4 new starts in September for my birthday. Because, you got to do something special for your birthday. And there's been a lot of things that I really want to start as well, but didn't really have a place in Stitch Mania. And something I was already planning to start in September. So I think I'll end up having 4 new starts as well in September. But it's fun. Like, I don't really like the thought of putting all of my starts in May. Like, I keep coming back to what Jessie Marie said one time in one of her videos, how she wanted to make starts special again. And I kind of agree with that, where starts are really fun for me, and to, you know, constrain them only to 1 month in the year seems a little bit depressing. And I want to have the freedom to start things like for New Year's or for my birthday or for like the Lady of the Flag. Well, it's appropriate for the 4th of July. So it's fun to like have the freedom to have these other random starts throughout the year without feeling like, oh, but I just started 18 things. I shouldn't start anything else now. So I don't really like having like a gazillion starts in 1 month like that. So last year I think I did 4 or 5 starts in May, and that's probably the most that I'll ever do. And as it is, like almost everything I'm starting is enormous, so I don't tend to be drawn to the smaller projects that often. So it's not really, I don't know. I know a lot of people that do the 1831 starts, they start lots of little things. So it kind of, it's not so bad for them because they may actually finish them with, you know, without too much trouble. But if I start, you know, 2 or 3 Hades and 2 or 3 Mirabilias and, you know, like it just gets to be an enormous amount of large whips that is just really sad to see languish because you can't work on them all the time. So that's just kind of how I'm gonna make it work for me. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat.